Yo, so I'm sure you've seen the news. You've already seen the title of this video, so you know what we're doing. But you've seen the news. Jonathan Majors, he's out. He's guilty on two counts, two of the four counts that were brought up against him. He's guilty. And he'll have his sentencing in, I think, February or something like that. So he's out. Marvel did not hold any punches. They right away, once the verdict came out, they right away said, "You're fired." So who knows what's going to happen? Are they going to continue with Kang? Maybe. Are they going to go a different route? Maybe bring in Doctor Doom? Who knows? We're hearing a lot of stuff about both scenarios. At one point, it was talked about that Kang was out and they were bringing in Doctor Doom. Then there was a whole thing about Kang still being there, but they're still going to bring Doctor Doom. So in my mind, I'm going off of this as if the Kang whole situation is still happening. They're going to still do Secret Wars, Secret Wars. They're still going to do the Kang Dynasty. I feel like they're still going to do that. And if they do, this video will age so much better. So we'll see how it goes. But I want to give you guys my top 5 actors that I think should replace Jonathan Majors in the role of Kang the Conqueror. And then I also want to give like 4 honorable mention ones that I think, they'd be cool in the role, but I doubt they would either take it or even be considered. So let's do those first, and I'll give my top 5. It's going to be short, and I can go into too much. There'll be some clips here and there, some pictures, of course, but we'll make it fun. But let's get into the honorable mention ones, and then we'll get to the nitty gritty. So first one on this list, and this is in no particular order. The top 5 are definitely in actual order, but this is in no particular order. But my first, I think, would be John Boyega. Now, it would never happen because I don't think his relationship with Disney is all that great, especially after the Star Wars sequels, Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, the Rise of Skywalker. I hate that movie, so I always forget the name. I don't think that he would actually, one, do it because it's still Disney, and I don't know if he's got a good relationship with them. And I think he's on to some other stuff, but I think he could be good in the role. After seeing what he did in They Cloned Tyrone on Netflix, great movie, by the way, I was thinking he could do almost anything. He was dope. He completely transformed himself from what I've seen in other roles. And so I was like, yeah, he could do it. I think he's the right age. He's like 31, 32. So he's the right age for it. And I think he could pull it off. So that's my first honorable mention. Next would be, this is just more of a, like a wish, because I like his voice. He has a good voice, like a menacing voice. He could play a villain. Bokeem Woodbine. Now, he's like 50, so it wouldn't really work out. I mean, it could, because this isn't like a long-term thing. You're going to do these 2 movies. He's probably going to show up as a cameo in some other spots. So it would have an end goal or an end line where you're not going to keep doing these movies forever. So, and that kind of goes into my my top 5 as far as a reason that I think the number 1 could be it. Number 1 or number 2. But Bokeem Woodbine, I think he'd be great in the role. I think he could do it. Now, his acting chops aren't as good as some of the others on the list, but I think it would be fun to see him in the role and see him play a villain that he could really grit his teeth into. And so, yeah, it would be fun. So that's just one there. Next up will be Donald Glover. Now, Donald Glover, he's shown up in Spider-Man Homecoming. Obviously, he was Miles Morales' uncle. So this is the only one on the list that has shown up somewhere in another Marvel or MCU film, but not in a main role. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that out there. I think he could do it too. He's got great acting chops, but he's a little short. But this is Hollywood. Who cares? He's 5'9". But it's Hollywood. They can make him look taller. It doesn't matter. But I also don't think he would take this one either. He's 40. So again, age isn't really a factor here. But I don't think he would take this role either. I think he's more onto some other stuff. Things that he can have more control over. Where when it comes to the MCU, you're kind of giving away some control. Especially if you're on the back end of it. Behind the scenes, MCU has their way of going about things. I can see them offering it to him, but I don't think he would accept it. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But who knows? Time will tell. Last on the honorable mentions list, Aldous Hodge. Now, he has not been in the MCU. He has been in DC. Just played Hawkman and Black Adam. That is no more. So he's not going to be doing that, obviously. He's not in anything new coming up for DC. So he's free to be in the MCU and do this. And again, it's got an actual end time frame when it comes to these movies. Again, the Secret Wars is going to be the end of Kang, or maybe even Kang Dynasty. Who knows? I don't know. But there's an end line with this. It's going to stop. You're not going to keep doing these movies over and over and over again because the story is Kang's gonna lose or something. Who knows? We'll see. But I think he could be a good replacement. He's 37 years old. He's about 6'1", so he's got the height. Jonathan Majors was 6 feet, so he's got the height and he's got the look. All these guys have the look, so it's that's gonna work. But I'm also looking for acting chops and presence. Like Jonathan Majors had a great presence in that role. He was better in the role of Kang in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania role than I think he kind of was to a degree in Loki season 2. But those are two different characters that were variants, obviously. So it's different. But I think a lot of these actors on the list could still come into the role, replace Jonathan Majors, give a similar feel, but also kind of put their own spin on it while not having general audiences feel like, who is this? Like, what's going on? It could still feel rather seamless in that case. So those are just the honorable mention ones. I haven't even gotten to my top 5, which now I'm there. Those are the 4 that I had for that list. So now we're at the top 5. I'm going to start this from the bottom. We'll go number 5 and work our way up to number 1. So number 5, if you want to go a little bit younger, and this is more younger in look, not necessarily age, because this guy is like, 32, I think. Yeah, he's 32. Damson Idris from the show Snowfall. I watched him on Outside the Wire. I think it was, Outside the Wire, which was a movie he did with Anthony Mackie on Netflix. He was actually pretty great in that. He's been in some other stuff. He's going to be in some upcoming things as well. But Snowfall is where most people know him on Hulu. I haven't necessarily watched that, but I've heard his name come up a few times. And I think if you want to go more of a younger looking route, it could work. But knowing Kang, like, you got to kind of have this gravitas to you. I think he could pull it off, but that's if you go the younger route as far as looks. So number 5, there you go. Number 4. This is one that I think could happen, but I don't think it would because his acting chops aren't that great in my own personal opinion. But John David Washington, Denzel Washington's son, I think number 4, I'd put him here. I almost put him on honorable mention, to be honest. But just because of his acting chops, they're not as in tune with what I would expect for a main villain of a franchise. That's one reason why Damson Idris is at the bottom as well. But for John David Washington, he's older. He's like 39. But he's been in some big movies. And that's why I think his name could come up because he's been in some big movies. He's led big movies. So he's got that experience. So that could help. And who knows? Maybe he'll come in, hit the ground running, and be a force to be reckoned with. And his acting chops will actually show that. That's a possibility. So number 3, Corey Hawkins. Corey Hawkins. He is 35, I believe, and he's 6'1", so he's got the height, which is good. First time seeing him was in The Walking Dead, and I thought he was cool. In that show. He's been on 24. He's been in Black Klansman, which also was starring John David Washington. Again, starring. He was a lead in that movie. Straight Outta Compton, recently on the voyage, or the last voyage of the Demeter. He's got presence as well. Straight Outta Compton and all that. Like he's got presence. So he could definitely pull it off, I think. He's number 3 because I would pick him definitely over John David Washington. Personally, I would pick him first. But I don't know where they're trying to go with this. Do they want to kind of get someone around that same age range as Jonathan Majors? Or do they want to get someone that's maybe a little bit older? That's kind of where I get a little bit like, I wonder, because you have options now. You kind of have options. And I'm sure that there's going to be guys that are really fighting for this role because they know it's going to be multiple movies, multiple cameos, things like that. So why not? So I think Corey Hawkins, I think he could definitely pull it off. He's got the look. He's got the height, even though it doesn't matter. I know I keep talking about height, but I look, when I think of villains, I don't think of like short little villains, especially when they're the main villain or supposed to be. And this might all change. Who knows? But Corey Hawkins is number 3. Number 2 and number 1 have something a little bit in common. Now, number 2 is older than everybody on the list, even older than number 1. Number 2 is John David Washington's dad, Denzel Washington. Yes, that's right. He is 68 years old, though. So there's that aspect to it. But again, with this one and number 1, these movies aren't going to continue forever for these guys. Like there's an end game when it comes to this character. So you don't have to worry about that as much. I think Denzel Washington would be fantastic in this role. In Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, Jonathan Majors had moments in the film where he was doing kind of this Denzel Washington-esque face in certain moments, and just some of his mannerisms, it felt like Denzel. And I've heard at one point they were trying to get Denzel to be part of the MCU in a major role, like as a main big bad. Now, who knows if he would take it now because of kind of everything that's happened here. I kind of doubt it, but I feel like he'd be perfect in the role. He would kill it. He's been doing the Equalizer, so he's doing the action scenes to a degree, obviously. And so he can still do that in the MCU as well. And this character has, like they shoot things out their hands. They do a lot of different tricks. Like it's a lot of different things they do where it's not all physical. So he could definitely pull it off. I think he would be great at number 2. So that's my number 2 pick, Denzel Washington. But number 1, now again, Denzel was originally, when I was going through the list, was number 1. And then he got bumped to number 2. Only because this actor is on the rise, even at their age. Even at their age. They are currently, this actor is 54 years old. Okay. Remember, Denzel's 68. This actor's 54. There's an end game with the character. I don't think age plays much of a factor here because, again, you're going to have a cameo or two between now and then, even though things have gotten pushed. And then you're going to have the 2 big main movies, and who knows what happens to the character within that time frame. Kang Dynasty, obviously, it's got to be Kang, so that just makes sense. So in my eyes, this is going to be the actor that is going to get the role. They will offer it to this person, unless they got some other kind of plan and they get rid of Kang entirely or something. That'd be weird considering the end credit scene in Quantumania. You got to kind of feed off of that, and you got to do something. So you got to finish that off. But I think number 1 would be Coleman Domingo. He's on the rise. He's got Rustin on Netflix, Color Purple, which is coming out next week, or no, this week, this Friday. That's coming out. He was in Candyman. He was great in that. He was in Fear the Walking Dead, so another Walking Dead alum. If Beale Street could talk, he's got a good list, and he's on the rise. He's continually on the rise. He's been doing some great stuff, and he would definitely have the gravitas and just the presence that you'd expect for this character. Again, I think Jonathan Majors did a good job in the role. I think he did a great job, actually, in Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania, as far as that embodying of Kang the Conqueror. Those other Kangs, that was a little bit shaky in some spots, especially just with the the accents and the way he was talking. And then the He Who Remains variant he played in Loki. Like, he did well there, but I really preferred the Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania Kang the Conqueror. Don't prefer the movie at all, but he was the best thing in the movie. Coleman Domingo would come in and just kill it. Like, I already know he would kill it, just like Denzel. But I think of the actors as far as those 2, the top 2, Denzel and Coleman, and where they are in their careers. Coleman is kind of on that trajectory there, a little bit more than Denzel. Denzel, he's constantly there, but I think Coleman is like coming up on people's radar a little bit more. And to a degree, like, if you bring him in, it won't feel like everybody knows who he is to a degree still. Like Denzel, if you see Denzel, you know exactly who that is. So sometimes it takes you a minute to like disconnect yourself from the actor and just think of the character and see the character. With Coleman, there's going to be a lot of people that maybe haven't seen the stuff that he's in. So it would feel like a brand new actor coming into the role and taking on the role of Kang and taking on the Avengers and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be easier to fall into, hey, this is Kang, not this is the actor playing Kang, which could happen to Denzel if he were to take it. But who knows? These are just some thoughts. I'm just ranting, really. This is a fun video, though. I said it was going to be short. Maybe it's not. Who knows? I still have to edit it. Yeah, no. Who cares? But this is my top 5. These are my top 5. You got the honorable mentions, which are great as well. But those are my top 5. I think Coleman Domingo will get the role if he were offered it. He would take it, I'm sure. And that's where we go from there. Let me know your top 5, though. Who are your top 5 or top 3, however many you want to give me? Who do you think should take over in the role? Put it in the comments below. Be interested to kind of see what you guys have to say about, like, you know, what actors you think could take over. And I do think they're going to keep the actor African-American. I think they're going to keep him African-American. You already started that way. So they're going to keep it that way, I'm pretty sure. I'd be surprised if they got rid of it unless they just completely get rid of the character. Then I'd be like, oh, all right, well, there you go. None of this mattered. But hopefully they continue with it. That'd be my hope. Thanks for watching, as always. Appreciate you guys. You can check out the other videos I got for you guys, as always, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.